Hello everyone. I just wanted to show you one of my guitars. It's people have seen videos of it and photos and they've sort of asked me what this guitar is about. It is a very special guitar. So this was a guitar that was made by a luthier called Richard Morgan. The ABC actually did a short documentary on him when he was working out of Mount Isa in Queensland, and so I thought I'd do this video, put it together so that I could refer to it in future videos, and then you can just click on the link and understand what this is about. So this guitar, here it is here. So where do I start? Perhaps I'll start, there's lots of different parts that make up this guitar, and people tend to think of guitars as an instrument that doesn't move and doesn't with no mechanical abilities, and that's just simply not true. In fact, most musical instruments, they move and breathe, and they're almost like a living thing. They need to be maintained. Is why maintenance is very, very important. Now luthiers have a very important job to do in maintaining instruments. And in fact, I heard someone say something that along the lines of they had somebody to water pianos, and that makes sense, because if you're keeping humidifiers, you need to make sure those humidifiers have got water in them. Just like the only difference is that pianos you don't typically take, unless it's your own piano, you don't take ownership over. If it's an institution like a university or a town hall or something, then that needs to be an assigned job to somebody. All right, excuse my dog just going nuts in the corner there. Yeah. Anyway, so the first thing you'll notice is a soundboard. Okay, at the moment it's got an internal mute. All right, and the idea of the mute is to protect the soundboard, because the soundboard is quite thin. As many luthiers will tell you, that a thin soundboard helps to project, and so the whole idea of this instrument is project, because the guitar isn't typically an instrument known for projection, not like the violin where it has time for the string to resonate, because essentially the bow hair is causing the string to be plucked over and over and over and over and over by its fibres, and the rosin beefs up those little fibres. We don't get that. We get one pluck as a guitarist, and that's it. It's got to last. So that's the main idea behind this, is unamplified projection. And I think that, comparable to other acoustic guitars, Richard has accomplished this. All right, so we're going to do some stuff. I don't think I have an Allen key this size, but what I can do, I think I can still take this soundboard off and show you. But basically, the reasoning why the soundboard's got this texture is because these are all individual pieces of timber. They've been laminated together, been glued together. And so the reasoning for this is just simple textbook stuff, that sound travels 4 times faster along a grain of timber than across. So if we're wanting to conserve energy in sound, then we're aiming to, or Richard is aiming to have the sound conduct along the grain of timber in a radiant way. So, and this gives us our many different textures and impartials as well, or at least the conduction of it. So a violin will have a bass bar and a sound bar. This has got a cone, much like a resonator, because resonators are a very loud instrument, and the reason is that because they're aluminium cone. Well, this is a timber cone. So think of a resonator, but with tonal qualities of timber. Is more along the lines of what Richard is trying to, or what I think Richard is trying to accomplish. And of course, the benefit of a soundboard where the grain is typically radiating, in his words, is trying to preserve that conduction of energy. All right, so I'll just flip it over because I need to take the mute off. there's a mute. You can hear this. It's not very loud because the mute's on there. So I'll turn it over. Now, I got very lucky with this instrument because the body is Paduk. And so he's similarly done a radiating grain here as well, all over the guitar for a similar reason. So the reason for Paduk on the back is because it's a hard timber, and if you create stiff back and sides, and a softer top, then it'll project out. And so that's the idea. And so it's got a King Billy pine top and also soundboard. I've also got a spruce soundboard as well, but the King Billy pine is backed by spruce to give it strength. So it's got individual sound bars. All right, so I've got my Allen key. I think this is 4mm, and this goes in here. Now, and you wind it clockwise to take the mute off. I shouldn't be doing this like that because it's going to put pressure on the soundboard. So I'll do this and just lean this up against the cupboard like that. Okay. I'll give you, hang on, I'll just give you a sound first, because if you play it with the mute on, obviously it's not going to project. So anti-clockwise mute on, and that feels like it's there. So turn the camera around. I'm kneeling on the ground, so posture is just not a thing at the moment. So, okay, so that's fingerstyle with me on. Holding a guitar is a nightmare while kneeling on the ground. Let me just say, I do not endorse this as a music teacher at all. Get yourself a chair. All right, so I set the guitar up again. Now, let's say clockwise. All right, I'll try and situate myself better to give you an idea of the sound. So what I might do, you've seen me do that. I'm going to leave the guitar there. I'm going to cut, and I'm going to come back and properly position myself. So I did have another recording organised. The very first one, I used the camera mics, and it the guitar just peaked or the bass from the guitar just peaked the mics out, so it kind of distorted, and the sound quality was just poor. I just kind of did it on the fly, improvising over a chord progression. It wasn't really anything organised or anything prepared. Of course, I can't really say that now because I've done it 3 or 4 times now with different mics trying to get the sound right. I suppose that's the part and parcel with dealing with equipment that doesn't quite fit together. And of course, I couldn't. I tried my condenser mic, but of course, I couldn't put the condenser mic through the camera because the camera hasn't got phantom power. So, anyway, long story short, I've set up my condenser mic. I've got it plugged into the computer, which is taking a separate track, and I'm recording, and hopefully everything just marries up. So what I'll do is I'll improvise, and when I say that, I mean it is still improvising over a chord progression in like a fingerstyle type thing, just to give you a bit of an idea of sustain and things like that, you know, and just the tonal qualities, and then I might do some picking, some jazz stuff over another chord progression to give you a bit of context as to what this guitar kind of sounds like and different dynamics, I suppose. So, all right, look, without further ado, we'll begin. here we are. This is going to be very awkward with one hand because I've got to hold the camera, of course, because I don't have a tripod. So these tuners, by the way, I chose these tuners. I think they're Gotch or something. They're quite nice, gold-plated tuners. So because of the movement, like, this thing has a truss rod too. So another way, if you like to adjust your action like that, not the best way, but because Richard identified that, yes, the neck, you know, either way, you need to be able to adjust it because there can be movement, all the rest. He's put a truss rod there. And I really like the simplicity of this neck. It means you can hang it up. You don't need to install a hanger. You can install a solid peg or something. And this is Queensland maple. And of course he's got his emblem there engraved in copper, which is suitable because Mount Isa was known for copper. Also lead and zinc, but you can't really put lead in there, can you? That wouldn't be good. One thing I do really appreciate about the neck is this. Now he's done this because there's carbon fibre in the neck to stop it from moving. But this inlay, this lamination of the timbers is extremely beautiful. And just it's such a pleasure to play. So anyway. In saying that, I do need to adjust the action because I noticed then that some of those bigger chords were quite difficult. So later I'll probably just, after I do this, I'll show you how to adjust the action a bit. So this isn't an instrument that's readily available. It's something that can't really be mass produced. And the reason for that is the soundboard and the complexity of the soundboard. I think we should be fairly loose now. Okay, so now I'm just taking the strings off the bridge. Let's loosen that a bit more. So it's also good to like if you feel you need to set the intonation, you could put a little mark. So I might use some whiteboard marker because it will just wipe straight off. But the idea is that you'll set your intonation with the thing anyway, so you can move the plate around. So I'll just to align it, put a quick mark just here, so I can align it again perfectly without having to muck around with intonation. I mean, it's not hard to adjust your intonation anyway. It would just be a slight movement. You'll be able to hear it. But you know, if you can avoid having to do something, then do it. I mean, it's going to save you time and energy. Then definitely. You can imagine like playing a gig, right? Oops, wrong way. And your soundboard cracks or something happens, I don't know, and you got a spare soundboard. Like, it's going to save you time if you can just put a quick pencil mark to mark where your soundboard is. The only disadvantage is that then you're going to have to do the same with your bridge as well, because the bridge can also rotate because it's on a single bolt. So that's the other option as well. It doesn't even matter. Like, say if you put the soundboard on, you put your bridge on, and then you put your soundboard on, or you put your bridge on your soundboard and your soundboard on. I know this probably sounds like, listen to that bass and that G. That's incredible. This probably sounds like, I know players don't typically like mucking around with their instruments, but I think in this day and age where luthiers are less common, especially in regional areas, it's not a bad thing, and it also allows musicians to learn their instruments better as well. And it also, the amount of appreciation that, so here we go. Take it off. that a musician will get for the instrument or for the instrument maker is a whole lot more if they get to learn the instrument and the ins and outs of it. You know, like when was the last time you had a nut cut or on a violin bridge installed? And a lot of people, when they haven't had this done before, they're sort of like, well, why is it so much? But they don't realise the time that goes into it. And this guitar is something that Richard did full time for about 3 months. And he was preparing for the Adelaide International Guitar Festival to take there and display. Anyway, I digress. So here's the soundboard, backed beautifully by spruce, and these along the joins to strengthen it. Now, oh look, he's even put a mark here. I haven't noticed that before about where to put it, but I've already marked it there where I want it. So I've already taken the bridge off, which is just an Allen bolt, and adjusted it to where I want it anyway. So, you know, instruments are a very personal thing. All right, so the good thing about this is you can get in there and clean it. It's not hard to open up. It's not like a violin, you need a knife. But anyway, look. Okay, so here's our pedal. And we've got this lattice bracing. So you'll see other luthiers use this as well. Typically carbon fibre. Now I think Richard has put carbon fibre on the bits of this. That's both for bracing to try and stiffen the, from what I understand it, to try and stiffen the paduk. So one, it doesn't move, and two, that it projects more. So you want to maintain that energy of sound. That's the whole premise of this instrument. And of course, he's got this rabbited recess here for the cone to sit in. This is the muting mechanism that you saw me unwind before. So it's got a bit of velvet there, and you wind that on and off, and that just comes up and provides support to this, so that if the bridge gets knocked or the cone gets knocked, the shock, when the mute's on, the shock goes through to something a bit more solid, and it doesn't affect the soundboard as much. Okay, so I'm all tuned up again now. I've still got my mark. It's so much easier with two hands. One thing I did notice though, and I actually forgot about this, was that when I tightened the strings again, because the neck was already set with when the tension was on the strings, the neck had just tilted a bit. So all I had to do, and I'm quite happy with it now actually, it's maybe I just need to take the tension off and give it a bit of a tension reset. It's just I did this, and I just wound the screw out, so anti-clockwise a little bit, and just brings the tension on the neck. I'll see if I can show you what it's doing with the string height and see what it does. So I'm winding it out. You can see that the string is moving. So that was what, one turn. So go one turn the other way and bring the strings back in. So it's quite effective. Very simple way of adjusting the action. And what I do is I just do that by feel. So I keep my Allen key in my guitar case, and because you need it to undo the mute, and so it's quite clever in the way that one Allen key does most of the functions. It will do the truss rod, and it'll do the neck, and it will do the thing. And this is what I mean about musicians being able to do some luthier work setups and things like that, because they become familiar with their instruments, and the instrument becomes it becomes so much more intuitive to them, that I know that if something isn't right with this guitar, it needs this or it needs this, and it's just a simple adjustment. Talk about this as well. It shouldn't be a big deal to go and get, say, I mean, if a setup, yes, everyone should get at least one professional setup, because then they know what their instrument can feel like and what it can sound like, and that's their standard that they're trying to achieve. But to go through the paces, I mean, it's different when you're doing things like your filing frets and crowning frets, things like that, but simple things like intonation, Bit different when it's solely acoustic, because intonation you've got to sand, but still a skill that someone should have a go at, even if it's on just a cheap instrument, so they can learn that skill and take it to their instrument. And then what that does, it makes them a better musician because they're more in tune with the instrument. So that's more or less about Rich's guitar. It was one of 3 that he was working on to take down to Adelaide for the International Guitar Festival. This was a few years ago. One of them had a pickup, but it didn't have a cone as such. It had a radiating soundboard that was attached to the sides. If you commission one of his instruments, I suppose, if he's still making them commissionable, that'd be something you'd have to take up with Richard. If you want to get in contact with him, then you just leave a comment below, and I'll reach out to him if he's still doing that. I know he's making mandolins, so he makes mandolins and he makes guitars. The mandolins have gained quite a bit of traction in Athens. Well, that's about it. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you have a great day.